on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by the household of Allie, Amanda, Derek, Genevieve, everyone in the room. What's going on, guys? What?
No, I just you sounded wistful.
Wistful?
Yeah.
What does wistful mean?
Like kind of
dreamy,
nostalgic, slightly sort of removed.
Remove.
longing.
I don't know.
But kind of regretful longing.
Oh, are you Googling it?
Yeah, Jen Googled it.
Sounded positive at first. I'm like, oh, yeah, and reminiscing of
Like
the household.
wistful of what could have been.
The other people I didn't hire.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yikes.
Shout out to that one girl way back when.
Yeah.
Where is she now?
I ran into one at Din Tai Fung once.
You did? Wait, what do you, yeah, one?
One of the ones he didn't hire.
Well, when I hired the two of you, there was a third.
Right. And you ran into
who
her
at the
Din Tai
time was
Fung.
kind of my number one.
Oh, you've told me this.
Yeah. And then but the two of you, I thought
As a team.
two of you made me want to hire two people. I was only going to hire one.
That's tough to be like the top, but not a teammate.
But it was my first time hiring anyone, so I was kind of flipping coins. But
Yeah, I do think we got rewarded for.
they were all worked out. I'm sure she's doing.
Unroll. Yeah,
I'm sure
but
she's doing great.
It's
Yeah.
like it just goes to show you that if you ever had a disappointing thing where you didn't get the job, it could be because they were like, you're too well-rounded and multifaceted, and I'm actually going to hire two people who balance each other out better. So
Yeah,
it's like,
maybe that was it. Yeah.
just goes to show you never really know.
Anyway, what's going on? Wistful. We learned that today. Regretfully longing.
Wait, was there ever a job you applied to and didn't get that you really wanted?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Any that come to mind now, though?
There was a pharmaceutical sales job that I really wanted to get. I wanted to get into pharma sales way back when. Glad I didn't.
Are those-
Especially now, all the movies that are coming out about the opioid epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Are those the people who go to the doctor's offices themselves?
Yeah. I mean, not every pharma job is selling opioids and pain medicines. I mean, I forgot the type of ones that I was potentially going to sell, but there's a reason why they hire former athletes and a certain type of looking man and woman, because at the end of the day, the thought process is doctors tend to be a little nerdier, and it's about wanting to hang out with them. So doctors are kind of like an ex-athlete they used to watch on a college football game, or an attractive associate that they don't mind having
lunch
them bring
with or
lunch
whatever.
with, literally. And it's really that's why I was in med device sales, and that's why I got out of it. Did that for a year and a half. I'm like, this isn't sales.
This
is something else.
dating.
I was just med device had its own other problem. I was basically teaching doctors how to bill for insurance. And if I could convince a doctor that they could bill for it and make a profit, they would use it. So I was teaching them CPT codes and things like that. It wasn't, there was less medicine involved than I anticipated.
Sure.
And I didn't feel like I was actually accomplishing what I was hoping to accomplish.
My mom, because of her time as a doctor, we had all these random the kind of merch that med device salesmen would leave. We had all of these creams, I remember, of and it was I don't know, it was just we had a Prozac pen growing up. It's stuff where I'm low key, I feel like people would wear I feel like people would wear a Prozac hat.
Maybe.
I feel like it's coming back around.
I don't think they can do that now, but
yeah, but it's the medical in earnest swag of the 90s. I feel like would be pretty trendy.
Yeah, so that came to mind. I'm sure there's some other ones too.
Jen, did you ever have a job that you applied for and really wanted, or a different version of you has in a different life you're not living?
I was applying for this job when I was applying for this one, and it was in New York, and so I was like, oh, that would probably be easier. And it was the assistant to someone who worked on SNL. And I was like, oh.
The assistant to someone who worked on SNL. Were they a writer?
I'm not saying. But yes. And they're on it.
They're on it.
But they ghosted me. Just too bad.
After
Would you have taken that
a really
job?
long time? I don't know. Actually. I don't know.
Wait, they
Okay, you
full
can say yes.
ghosted after like
yeah, like
having
a really long time.
How many interviews did you have with them?
Like so many. Oh, and it was like they were like waited weeks, and I was like, oh, they're done. And then all of a sudden they'd come out of the woodwork and be like, hey, sorry about that. Can you meet tomorrow? And I'd be like, yeah. And then, or it was a really long time and I was like, oh, they're fully ghosting me. But I feel like one day they're going to message me and be like, hey, do you want to call tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'd be like, my dude, it's been like 6 months.
There's a part of me, and I'm kidding. There's a part of me that wishes that was your first job and this was your second job.
What do you mean?
Because he or she sounds like a nightmare to work for. Could you imagine?
something I feel frustrated by is when people have no idea, like no appreciation for like what it means to be applying for a job, especially when you get to a later round and you've had interviews and then there's like no consideration of like ghosting or just like not being communicative at all. But then it's like, I realize it's like not because people are being malicious. They're just like so fucking busy and that's why they need support in the first place kind of thing.
I don't know. I think you're being too empathetic. I've never ghosted someone I interviewed.
Yeah, that's fair. But sometimes it's nice because I feel like it's like with dating where it's like when you go on a date and then you get a nice friend out of it. Like I feel like that happens with job interviews sometimes where you're like, oh, ultimately you're going to hire someone with 4 more years experience, but we're going to get coffee every 9 months and have a...
Who you can coffee with people
I don't
who
do
didn't
that.
hire? Didn't hire you?
Occasionally, yeah, I was better about, honestly, before this job kind of picked up, I feel like I was much better about like the networking thing.
I hear you on that. Listen, I don't think you should ever burn bridges for sure. But being an assistant to someone in entertainment, it's a grind.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a grind. They're not big on work day hours or, your schedule, really.
No. I also, and I love now because so many of my friends are assistants, like I love forever holding grudges against the people who are mean to their assistants. Like I'm not going to air out dirty laundry, but there are some comedians where I'm like, whenever it comes up in conversation, I'm like, they're shitty to their assistant. And I won't say it on a podcast because that feels like next level,
Yeah,
but it is kind of satisfying being like, yeah,
is anyone good to their assistants?
I had an assistant job before this and it was awful. And her best friend hired my friend and she's wonderful to her assistant. And I'm like, how does that make sense? How are they best friends then?
that's, if your best friend was kind of shitty to their assistant, would you say something?
Well, I don't think she realized.
Yeah, but like if you're like, let's say you're in your like 30s, like much
I
further
would
along in
absolutely
your
say
career.
something, especially having been an assistant.
Adults will throw temper tantrums. I feel like that's the biggest takeaway from
Oh,
Hollywood.
absolutely.
Did you see on the temper tantrum topic, that was a lot of tease, that they've started charging a $50 fee for parents who have noisy kids at restaurants?
Who's they?
I think it's just one restaurant.
Okay.
Is this the thing that's
Well,
happening
it
in
could
all
be-
restaurants?
We don't know. It could be sweeping the nation.
I don't know. I feel like
by the time this airs.
part of me thinks it's great. Part of me, as a expecting father, it's great until it happens to you, and then you're like, "Fuck you!
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to parent my
But the
kid."
crazy thing is that the surcharge isn't for noisy kids. This is in quotes,
yeah.
adult surcharge for adults unable to parent. That's so mean.
Who is judging this? Like most servers are in their like early to mid 20s. There's obviously exceptions to that. There's some long time industry people, but are like the 20 something typical servers the enforcers of who is properly parenting or not?
I think it's like a shift manager or general manager who's had it. Like, it's someone who's not making like the huge bucks, but has a lot of seniority. Even if they are 27, they are like hardened, like a hardened veteran of the restaurant industry.
What kind of restaurant was this, Genevieve?
Maybe it's on the link. It seems like you can click it.
Toccoa. Oh,
Riverside
oh,
Dining.
it's kind of gorgeous.
So it's like a fine
Oh.
dining experience.
Well,
I mean, let's
I
look
don't
at the
know.
menu. Let's look at the pricing.
There's a fish and cow on the website.
I mean,
mean-
stuffed crab is $30. That seems like a pretty decent price for crab. But we are in LA.
Domestic shrimp for $19 feels like a steal.
The sides are $4. I feel like the sides here would be
Wow.
like,
At least
$8?
$7.95. Yeah.
How many dollar signs is next to the Yelp review?
2. On
Only 2?
Google. Well, on Google there were 2.
2. Okay, so it's mid.
ooh,
This
the
really-
review's 2.7.
Maybe from all the people, people Yelp
All the
bombing.
parents.
Yeah, let's look. I wouldn't be shocked if this place poisoned the food. Oh my god.
So how are parents supposed to teach their children to act in public without ever bringing their kids in public? Instead of imposing the consequence of your ignorance of parenting, understanding, or knowledge on others, try reading a book or watching some YouTube videos.
And that comment came out right after the article.
Yeah. So it's potentially a Schwartz and Sandy situation where the reviews have to do with more of a philosophical.
I could picture Tom Schwartz charging a couple parents $50 because he's annoyed by their kids.
I could not picture Tom Schwartz. I could picture Tom Sandoval.
That's
yeah.
what I mean. Sandoval. No,
I feel
Schwartz
like Schwartz
play.
would like babysit.
Yeah, Schwartz would play. Sandoval might.
He'd like go buy some crayons across the street.
Maybe that's not fair. I don't know. But I could picture it.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying though about how like you kind of see both sides of it where you're like on one hand, like I do think sometimes there are some parents who it feels like they go above and beyond to be inconsiderate in terms of like not even trying. Like it's one
Yeah,
thing
when
if
they're
you-
like there and they're just like, yeah, it's my kids. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and their kid is like making a huge mess for everyone and they don't care
Yeah.
and they're like, why don't you
And
clean
they
it up? It's your job.
And they're clearly not like willing to parent or like enforce some rules. If your kid's throwing a temper tantrum in public, you gotta. I'm not gonna let my kid just act out. There'll be some consequences.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to do your best. Like, I feel like that's the thing is like, as long as the parent's trying, like, I don't really judge them.
Yeah. I suppose if there's a parent sitting there and just not really kind of ignoring their kid while they're eating their food and while everyone else has to deal with the kid they're ignoring, yeah, I'd be pissed. But on the flip side, tough being a parent, tough
Hard.
going out.
I feel like
Babysitting's expensive.
I feel like that's something we're kind of reckoning with between like this and like the mom shaming, like birthday cake incident and the airplane stuff. Like it feels like there's kind of a lot of questions about like parenting in the new age.
Probably, yeah, because I feel like there's less and less people becoming parents.
Hmm.
Yeah, right? I don't know what the stats are, but I'm guessing, as we
Where that
dive
birth
in-
rate at?
we dive in more into an individualistic society, and there's a lot more conversations about being the main character and investing in yourself and not rushing into marriage. And then there's more to life than having kids, which for a lot of people all might be true. But yeah, there's maybe a bigger divide between adult people who aren't parents and adult people who are. And the divide on what that should look like.
I also think part of it might, because I had an ex who really didn't want kids. That's the ex. And it was really like, he would refer to parents as breeders. He really like got,
He really hated kids.
he didn't mind not the well-behaved ones, but like whenever there were like, if there was like a parent who was like being kind of, I guess, like entitled in his mind, or who was
What
like,
would an entitled parent look like in his mind, do you think?
like insisting to cut the line in the bathroom with a kid, like that kind of thing, where it's like, okay, on one hand, I see that, like if your kid,
Insisting to cut the line with the kid.
like that kind of thing. And it's one of those things where I feel like he probably would have offered if he noticed. It's just like I think he felt frustrated sometimes that like parents, I think sometimes feel stretched thin and are like kind of desperate, like I need this. And instead of it kind of being like a human to human exchange, I think sometimes it can just be kind of like an entitlement, like I'm more important than you thing was how it rubbed off on him.
I can't say I'm with your ex-boyfriend here.
I mean, I'm not either.
No.
But
I mean, this reminds me of the whole like selfish people are always the ones who call other people selfish, and entitled people are always thinking everyone else is entitled. I'm not saying he is selfish or entitled, but again, when a little kid is doing the whole I gotta pee dance and he's in line at a game and he is annoyed because some panicked parent.
that didn't happen. I more just mean like that kind of thing. You know what I like? Or like one thing that did happen was like a kid was really kicking his seat on a plane and he was just, and he didn't say anything. He wasn't like rude or confrontational
that.
about it, but he was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like
you turned around?
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting, in a plane, and these two kids were just kicking the seats. Not at first, but afterwards, I just kind of turned around and looked at them, and I said, "Can you please stop?" And they did.
That's good because it's scary if a stranger tells you that.
It was more like me looking at them did that enough, and I was nice and calm. And that was a time where the parents were just like not giving a fuck.
Right.
They were on the kids were all in one row, and they were in the separate row, and like the kids were just doing whatever the fuck they wanted. I would never let my kid do that. I'd be like, "Honey, please stop kicking that person's seat." you know? So yeah, there is a balance, but
Because I think it feels like in a lot of places in culture, like parenting is much more opt-in now than it was before, to what you were saying of how it's like, it's not like just this required, like, of course you are going to get married, have kids, like go on this specific life course. Like there's a lot more like true what it means to be traditional, I think has gotten a lot more like expansive. And I think because of that, there's much more of like it's not like we all have this like, oh, yep, we're all stuck in this crazy parenting cycle. It's like, no, you chose to do this and you're doing a bad job in this moment, or it's inconveniencing me in this moment.
yeah, I just
There's,
don't
like-
think any non-parents ever have a right to judge a parent, even if they might be right. You know, I'm just saying, in that scenario, I had the right to be annoyed per se, but like, I don't know. I'm not in a position to say whether they were good parents or bad parents. You know, 5 years from now, I might be like, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm never gonna see this guy again. Kick his seat. Who gives a fuck? You know, I don't know. Maybe.
Because it's
I hope I don't. But
Well, it's especially easy with parents to understand how stressful it is, especially with like anything travel related. It's like, dear God, I was stressed, and I'm a single woman alone at this airport. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I gotta say, but traveling dogs, pretty easy so far. I piss a lot of people off by saying that.
yeah.
Well, get the right dogs.
Yeah.
You know, get the right kids.
Get the right kid.
What's our writer-iner have to say, Genevieve?
It's wedding related. So she says, I'm getting married next September. We're doing a small budget-friendly wedding with a small wedding party. And so because of that, I have close friends who won't be in it. But before I got engaged, I mentioned to one of my friends, let's call her Monica, that my wedding party was small. So I was thinking of asking her to be the flower girl. She seemed very thrown off by this idea and eventually asked me if I thought it was a joke. I was shocked. I told her, of course not. I explained that the wedding is small and I wanted to include her. As a side note, this friend is very bubbly, and when I thought of her, I truly thought of flowers and thought she'd have fun with this role. My fiance proposed about a month ago, and I haven't brought up the role again since. Based off a conversation I had with a mutual friend, I can tell Monica is not into the idea and thinks it's so bizarre I'd ask a 27-year-old woman to be a flower girl. I understand if you've never heard of an adult flower girl and that the ask might be weird, but at the same time, I have heard of it, and it was truly just doing something as a nice gesture. Her reaction left a bad taste in my mouth. This friend does have a tendency to act selfishly. We work together, and this isn't the first time I felt a lack of understanding from her. I'm not sure what to do now because I feel this tinge of animosity has probably been building from other situations.
This is a really good one. I feel like this is such a good pick. It's a
Thank
really
you.
nuanced issue.
Yeah. A great one.
It's a really good one.
What do you think? Well, while you think about it, I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah.
I was
like, by all means, kick it off.
Well, it sounds like with the way she wrote it was, she makes it seem like her intention of this whole thing was to try to make the friend feel included.
Yes.
And it was less about wanting a flower girl, or certainly an adult flower girl. It was like, I need to find a role for Monica. What can we make her? A flower girl. Well, Monica doesn't want to be a flower girl. So it's one of those things where the problem has solved itself unless she, the writer-iner, makes it a bigger problem. Now, granted, the writer-iner has referenced at the end of the letter that like maybe this is just a continuation of like the dynamic of our friendship that ultimately like I'm maybe not in love with. So ultimately her asking her to be a flower girl and then how she responded is like big picture, like maybe you do need to evaluate this friendship. That's fair. But in terms of solving the wedding problem, it has solved itself. Unless she is pot committed to having an adult flower girl at her wedding. Doesn't sound like she is. And if your friend doesn't want to be the flower girl, then she doesn't have to be the flower girl. Unless she's like, my friend wants to be included and has a certain expectation of what that role is. Well, you don't want her to be the maid of honor or one of the flower girls
Or bridesmaids.
or bridesmaids or whatever it's called.
You do have a wedding coming up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh my God,
So-
wait. Do you know who your flower girl's going to be?
my flower girl?
Yeah.
No.
It could be Monica.
Give me a Monica. Yeah.
It could be Monica.
I'm going to make Allie do it.
Fuck yeah. Allie would love that.
See, Monica, someone likes it.
I don't know. We haven't had that discussion. Yeah.
I will say, like, upon reading this, I'm like, oh, that is kind of like my reaction is, and I'm like, fun to like make it into an adult role. Like, I understand that it is traditionally like a little girl's thing, but like, I think I would be so like, I would be flattered if a friend was like, hey, I want you to do this thing. And I think you have the personality to pull it off. I'd be like, fuck yeah, give me the pedals.
Clearly, this isn't a friend who's kind of a go with it type of friend.
Yeah.
Probably not her personality. So you can decide, writer-iner, if that's the type of friend you want. You know, I just think as we get older, right, we learn who our friends are, so to speak. And when we're younger, we base our friendships off of common interests, you know, being a part of similar communities, the same church, the same school, the same, you know, extracurricular activities, you know, liking the same boys, you know, liking the same girls, stuff
I don't
like
know
that.
if you were friends with the girls that liked the boys you liked.
The type of boys.
I see what you mean.
You know, just like
maybe like celebrities.
You're into skater boys or whatever. You're into jocks, you know, and I'm just saying similar
the two
interests.
types of men.
The similar
Skater
interests.
boy,
But when
jock
you get
continuum.
older, right, and it becomes more about just personality, you know, introverted, extroverted, how they treat others, how they treat you, how they step up for you. You know, as we get older, we're working on our own lives, and everyone's got their own main character journey, and they're looking for relationships, or they're looking for their focus on their career, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone has a reason, a justifiable reason in their head to be self-centered.
Yeah.
Everyone has a reason of why today's is not the day they're capable of thinking about anyone else but themselves, because they have so much on their plate, you know, so to speak. And when we get older, we think of friendships a little bit differently. So this is just maybe an example of why maybe you two aren't as compatible as friends as you thought you were or want to be. Because maybe back in the day when she met this friend, or it's like a work friend or something, you know, it was like, hey, you know, we met at work, some similar common interests, and it was like, hey, I want a friend at work. So it's going to be Monica, and she's sweet and she's nice and we generally get along. But as the friendship evolved and you had greater expectations of this friend, you realize they're not willing to step up. I guess this is all to say, it's just like, don't ruin your own wedding by making this bigger than it needs to be. Like, you know, she clearly doesn't want to be a flower girl. So I would just drop it with Monica. As far as your wedding goes, I would just drop it for the time being. If you want to, in the future, as far as it relates to your friendship with Monica, communicate with her. It's like, it just really bummed me out. At the end of the day, I just wanted to make you feel involved. And I just, you know, wanted you to be a part of my wedding because I care about our friendship. But like, I was really hoping in that moment you would be more excited that I wanted to include you in my wedding rather than judge me for the idea that I had about including you. You know, it just made me, you know, whatever it made her feel, she can express that. I wouldn't do it unless it's a huge priority right now, because then it's going to create more drama around your wedding.
Right. And Monica's clearly, I don't know, in my understanding, it's like she's clearly just upset she didn't get the bridesmaid ask. Because nobody's like, what? That's so weird. You want me to put flowers on the eye? Like, you know, like nobody's.
Do you think that? It could be. There's a lot of judgy people when it comes to wedding. Oh, really? You want me to be a flower girl? Like, is that a thing? There's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about how weddings should be. But
my sense is that it's like she's mad because she's comparing flower girl to bridesmaid versus flower girl to attendee. Like, she's feeling like she got demoted. Like, she thought she would have been a bridesmaid. So flower girl is like a demotion from that as opposed to a promotion from attendee. And so it's kind of like a social politics, like, oh, I wasn't close enough to make this cut kind of thing.
I mean, listen, if she thought she's going to be a bridesmaid, I can see why it feels like a demotion.
Yeah, totally.
Because an adult flower girl isn't as common, it brings more attention on Monica. It's like, why is this girl? Who is that? It's like, oh, no, she's not a bridesmaid. No, she's a flower girl.
Yeah, it's like the ring bearer is like a 4-year-old boy.
But either way,
if they have other friends having silly roles like this to include other friends too, I think that would feel differently. I wonder if like this like is just for Monica, because then that would feel awkward.
Monica is not a selfless person.
Yeah,
that's the biggest.
That's what we're learning.
You know, Monica is not one of those people who's like, no matter how she feels about whatever she is asked to do, she is incapable of saying, "It's not my wedding." And I'm here to support however I can. I'm not here to ask questions. I'm not here to complain. I'm not here to compare. I'm just here to I'm happy to be here in whatever capacity they want me to be here. Oh, you want me to be a part of your wedding? Oh, great. Thank you. Monica's not one of those people.
No. And it's like, Monica, you can still like talk shit, like lovingly, politely, and localized to friends who don't know. Like, if you want to like joke about being like, yeah, I guess I'm a fucking flower girl. Like, if you need to get that out of your system, you can. But like, suck it up, get it out of your system, then be a good friend.
Get out of your system with someone where it's not going to get back to the bride.
That's what I'm saying. A localized, I think it is important. Like, I think
Your mom.
I think there's a difference between talking shit and processing. And there's also a gray area.
Or venting. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like kind of venting. And I think you're allowed to, like, if you feel weird about it and you need to just like make a joke to one friend who does not know this and who will keep their mouth shut. And bada bing, bada boom. I'm so stressed about the possibility of picking friends for bridesmaids. It seems like a nightmarish task. And so I'm sorry to this writer-iner that they had to make some hard choices.
What does it say?
Wasn't totally seamless.
Didn't worry me.
It doesn't worry you? That makes so much sense. That's so on brand.
You haven't even
You're not
asked
a
them.
people
You're
pleaser.
so unworried.
I have one more to ask.
Okay.
But you're not I don't think you're a people pleaser. And I think you're
I'm
very
not.
on brand for being like, you know, you get what you get and you don't get upset. Or if you do get upset.
If one of my
bye.
buddies, I mean, they never would I'd just be like, you answer that question. You know why. I've never been like,
Oh my God.
I would never, they would never ask, so I would never say that. But it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
you know why.
I feel like this is something where a lot of people probably have like similar or adjacent experiences. So if there's been some wedding party drama that you've experienced and you want to tell your tale, write about it in the comments because I
Yeah.
would like to know and I'm stressed and maybe I want to be more stressed by hearing horror stories. I don't know.
All right. Well, we got some great calls lined up for you. Don't forget to send those questions at asknick@theviallfiles.com for all things Ask Nick, texting office hours, mediation. You know the drill. We got a big week lined up for you. Very excited. It's so big that we're adjusting our schedule to accommodate the bigness of it. Tomorrow, regular scheduled program. We got reality recap with the one and only Cammie Crawford, friend of show. It's her first time on the show. I've been friends with Cammie for a while. You might know her from Catfish, popular show on MTV. She's got her own another hit podcast, but she's here to talk with us all things reality TV, Golden Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, and then some. And then on Wednesday, not Thursday, we're dropping Going Deeper a little early because Lindsay Hubbard from Summer House is with us. It's her first time doing a podcast since her shocking breakup from Carl. She walks through the entire breakup and how she felt and all the deets and all the tea.
I think this is, even if you do not watch the show Summer House, I think it is so worthwhile because it is like the circumstances I think are both shocking but relatable in certain capacity if you've ever felt just kind of like blindsided. So very
if you haven't
worthwhile
heard of
listen.
this breakup, do your research or just Google it. Lindsay Hubbard, Carl. What's Carl's last name?
Radke.
Radke?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank God she didn't have to take that last name.
Yeah, thank God. Well, she is with us on Wednesday for Going Deeper. Get ready. Put your seatbelts on. It is full throttle.
Full throttle.
Let's get to our call.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. How old are you?
I'm 28.
How can we help?
I haven't broken up with my boyfriend yet because I'm worried about the financial elements.
Okay. What are those elements?
So I recently just finished law school. We've been together throughout the end of my law school journey. I ended up taking some time off of working full time to study for the bar exam. And my boyfriend has been financially supporting both of us for about a year now. He ended up selling his house and made a pretty decent profit off of that before COVID was over. But the, I guess, financial element is he's spent close to 20 to 30 grand for us. And it's still going on. I haven't found a full-time position yet. So that's kind of where the hang up is right now.
Gotcha. Okay. And say it one more time so I'm not confused.
So I just finished law school. I was working full time.
Great.
Quit my full-time job to study for the bar exam after law school.
How long did that take?
About a year. I actually ended up failing the first time, so I had to retake the bar exam again. So I'm actually waiting on bar results right now.
Oh, well,
so my boyfriend has taken on that the financial load.
So about a year ago or so, there was a point in your professional life and I guess your relationship life where the two met, so to speak. And you were like, hey, I need to studied for this bar exam. The studying for the bar exam was in fact your full-time job, an unpaid full-time job. And you guys sat down, it sounds like, at some point, and you guys agreed as a couple, it sounds like. Correct me if there's any gaps in this repeating back. And it was decided that he would support the both of you while you studied for the bar exam.
Correct. And it originally wasn't even my idea. I feel like my upbringing, my dad has always taught me not to really rely on another man for financial support. So it was really hard for me to accept that financial help.
Sure.
And it was his idea. He said, like, I'm willing to support you. I love you. I really want to set you up for success. So, I mean, it wasn't anticipated that it would go on for a year. It was only supposed to be for a couple months. And he's been willing and able to do that.
Okay. And then what other conversations or expectations around this did you guys have, if any at all? Like, did you discuss the potential length of time? Did you guys discuss any sort of repayment, or was this just from the kindness of his heart? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, what expectations did you guys have? Because so far, I am just seeing, I'm just hearing a story about a guy who was, I guess, generous in a relationship. A relationship that doesn't sound like it's working out for you. And, it's like a kind of a tough luck to him.
Right.
I'm not trying to sound, but I guess other than, like, it sounds like you're worried about him coming back with, what the fuck? I did all this for you. You used me, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess the expectation was that I wasn't to ever pay him back. I offered many times, but it seems like anytime we really had any argument, even if it wasn't related to the financial aspect, it always ended up turning into, or it was brought up during the argument. So I guess this is kind of like twofold.
How was it brought up?
He said, like, I've sacrificed so much for you. I'm literally like paying for our rent, paying for all of these things. I sold my house for you.
Well, did he though? Or did he sell his house while with you? I guess I'm just trying to get to, what do you think is fair? Because him having the benefit of hindsight, now that the relationship is going through its struggles, I don't think he would have been so generous had he thought you guys weren't going to work out.
Right.
Nevertheless, like, I just don't know if you get to retroactively go back and send someone, I guess, an invoice, because things didn't work out the way you wanted to.
Right. And
because it doesn't sound like he was borrowing you the money, right? He was supporting the relationship at the time.
Right.
And he was doing so through financial means. But that was his way of one of his ways of supporting the relationship. The thing about money is that it's tangible, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's easy to literally account for it. Like, you have people who are accountants when it comes to money. But people do all sorts of things for relationships and for their partners. They step up in moments of need, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm willing to bet, as someone who at various times in relationships has stepped up for their partners financially, when it made sense, I wasn't really making that much of a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's situation is different, but it's not like I had to go get a second job, so that I could afford to help out my partner who needed some extra cash to do whatever for. It was like, hey, I can handle this, no problem. I don't want you stressing out. I want you to focus on this. I got this, no problem. I love you, right? And my gut tells me your situation resembles that more than him, like, going out and taking a second loan or getting another job to pay for you to go to law school.
Correct.
Yeah. So to me, I see it as more of just one of the many possible things that people do in relationships to support the relationship at the time when they are investing in a relationship. And a relationship is an investment, right? Just like anything else is, if we're thinking about it unromantically. And so all the things we do in a relationship when the relationship is going well, we're doing it because, well, we think we're going to get something out of it, right? No, many relationships fail. They don't work out. People break up, and that's a shitty element of it, but we don't get to, it's not necessarily fair to go back and be like, well, if I wouldn't have done that, if I'd known this was going to happen, of course. And I feel like that to me, it sounds like what he's doing. If this was a mediation and he was here talking to us, you're a lawyer or on your way to be one, what would his argument be? Like, how would you, as his lawyer, argue for his position?
I don't think he would be like sending me an invoice or expecting any repayment. I think that because we've talked about like potentially like going our separate ways, and I've offered numerous times to pay him back or pay some portion back. I think because like I have some sort of like guilt, but he's told me that he does not want me to pay him back, and that it was just something that he was willing to do for our relationship.
Why is he throwing it in your face?
I don't know. This is something we've started couples therapy for the past couple of months now. And I think, our therapist said that a lot of it is an anxiety on his part that I think he needs to work out on his own.
Are you?
I don't think.
Are you done with this relationship emotionally and mentally? Or are you still holding out hope? Like, where are you in the, I want to break up with my boyfriend? Because it sounded like you're all but done, but trying to figure out the mess.
I think I'm still willing to give it a last effort, kind of.
Why are we breaking up potentially?
I don't know exactly how to frame it. I think it's just like a compatibility issue. I think that he sees it as like he can't really support me in any other way besides financially. But I just feel like there are a lot of things that about him that kind of just don't match with what I need. Like, I feel like I always wanted like this nice guy after all of my relationships, and you finally get the nice guy, and it's kind of like, well, this isn't, I'm realizing that it was kind of the bare minimum.
Can you give me more examples?
Yeah. I feel like he doesn't really have like his own opinion. Anytime we plan anything, he's like, whatever you want to do. And he doesn't want to make the plans himself. I think I assumed, and I shouldn't have, that being 40 years old, I kind of feel like his mother at a lot of times. I feel like I'm kind of raising him, teaching him how to clean, how to do laundry, how to do everyday things. And it kind of, after a long time, has worn down on me.
What, I guess, does he literally not know how to do it? Or does he not have the time for it? Is he busy at work?
I wouldn't really say. I think it also has to come from like a upbringing perspective. He's the youngest of all of his siblings. And there's such an age gap between his siblings that he was basically an only child. I'm an only child too, but I'm not like this. But I can see that his mom does everything for him. And so I think it takes for someone to remind him or tell him, hey, your laundry is like building up. You should probably do that. Or like cleaning up around the house. I have to like put on his schedule that we need to clean the bathrooms. And it's just getting like really exhausting to have to like delegate to an adult how to do their chores.
Can't you hire a maid?
With the finances right now, he probably wouldn't want to. No.
Okay. So money is a little tight right now?
I wouldn't really say it's tight. I don't think would find the value in it.
I only bring this up because I asked you why you guys are breaking up, and the first story you told me was about, and this lack of compatibility has to do around, I've mentioned this before, my therapist talks about the 3 Bs, the bed, the broom, and the budget. And you guys are fighting over the broom and the budget, so to speak.
Right.
the broom being the one where you feel like you aren't getting your emotional needs met and you feel like a mother, and having a maid is a very privileged thing. But at the same time, if it saved your relationship, if the first thing that you said, this is why I feel the most misunderstood, this is why I feel like I'm is unhappy. And yeah, maybe his mom did a bad job when it came to like making him clean up his room or do chores or things like that. And it's just like not in his nature. And it's not the first thing he thinks of. It's not a priority for him. And so, he just doesn't feel like doing it as an adult. Maybe that would be money well spent for him and or you in the relationship to have it not be something you guys fight over or argue about. And it might be you might think, oh well, that's a lot of money to spend on someone to like clean our room because like money is tight. But it's all a matter of perspective. I don't know what you guys spend your money on, but a few $100 a month might go a long way to not have you feel frustrated at him and vice versa.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, like, I know this is only one aspect of it, but if that is the problem, maybe that's the solution. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I disagree with that. I feel like this is more than like the money. Like it's the principle of like him not being responsible. Like I totally get that. I had a relationship and then I said to myself, I'm never going to date a younger sibling again. Like it's frustrating, especially him being 40. I'm sure that's like even more frustrating because it's more than like cleaning up for himself. Like if you want to build a family with him, what's he going to be like as a father? Is all
and
the
I think
cleaning
that's what I worry
you?
about.
Yeah.
It's just like, am I going to be raising like 2 kids if we have 1 kid? Like,
I mean, is he that useless?
Like,
because here's the thing, like for me, right? Like folding laundry, get out of here. Like I will let laundry just sit in the fucking dryer for forever. And when I was a single guy, I just like, I did my own laundry and I would just like pull socks out of the dryer and I'd pull shirts. I mean, childish stuff. But I'm also like, that was just a thing. It was like a pet peeve of mine. But like, I also like love taking care of the people I love and I love stepping up and I love, I don't want to do X, Y, or Z, but you know what I'm saying? So like, I hate doing laundry. I'm generally a messy person. I don't like doing chores. I don't like cleaning. I fucking hate it. And no one ever accused me if they walked into my place as a single guy of being the tidiest or things like that. There was definitely a lot of ooh boy moments if you walked through my house before I was with Natalie. But I also, as a partner, feel like I don't leave. It's without question, whoever I'm dating knows that I'm going to like take care of my family. I'm going to step up and do what I need. Maybe that's what I need is just to hire someone to do the work that I don't want to do. Am I making sense? Or it's just like,
yeah.
So is he that useless? Or is he just like...
Or like, are there other areas in the relationship where you feel like the same kind of like complacency manifests? Like, I know you mentioned kind of like planning dates. Are there other kind of examples where you just feel like you're like, why am I in this alone? Like, where's the partner?
Yeah, like I think it has to do with like our relationship, planning dates. I feel like a lot of everyday activities. I just feel like I just feel like he's very complacent and comfortable with where he's at. And maybe we're just not in the same part of our lives because I'm just now starting my career. I'm starting to figure out what I want to do in my life. Whereas he's 40. I mean, he's been married before and divorced. And
do you know why he got divorced?
I guess complacency is more of what it is. I think that so for example, if he wants to go to like a football game or a hockey game with his friends and he invites me and I say, oh, I'm just going to stay home. I'm not really up for it this weekend. He'll say like, oh, like, I guess I'll just stay home with you. Even though when he first asked me about it, I can tell he was excited, but just because I don't want to go, he feels like he has to stay home with me.
Well, where does that come from?
I don't know. I've always pushed him to hang out with his friends and like have his own, I guess, life outside of just our relationship. Every single time I try to get him to go out and hang out with his friends individually, it kind of reels him in even more and makes him not want to go anywhere without me.
Interesting. And you don't like that for the most part, or?
No, I think that we've talked about it. Like, I feel like I'm a very introverted person, and he's very extroverted. And there are times where I'm hanging out with groups of friends, like days in a row, and there's just one day I just want to be at home and just not talk to anyone and just hang out by myself. And I
including
don't
him.
think he truly understands that.
But why doesn't he just go out with his friends? Like, where is this feeling of I'm having like a disconnect?
Mhm.
You know, because it's just like I get wanting to be a supportive boyfriend or partner and be like, oh, hey, I want to go do this with my friends. You don't want to go. And then, my partner's like, oh, do you really have to go to this? I'd really love to spend the day with you. And then I don't go. But the partner telling me to go, wanting me to go, but him not wanting to go with you, even though but you say he wants to go. Where does, you never, like, that just seems like a oxymoron or like why doesn't he want to go with his friends? I mean, you don't you don't even want him there, and he's saying, "Oh no, I'll stay with you." Why?
Right. And I mean, our therapist said a lot of it has to do with like anxiety on his part,
Anxiety about
but
what?
just like generalized anxiety, I guess. She had recommended to him that he needs to like see his own therapist and work on his own anxiety. Because I mean, I have my own therapist. I've seen her for years, and like I feel like a lot of these issues aren't really there. He's going to have these issues any relationship he's in, I feel like. And I
Yeah.
have asked him, like, maybe you should go to therapy again. And it's just like not a priority for him.
If you guys go to a party together, is he the kind of person who just like clings to you the whole time, like won't leave your side when you're in the bathroom? He's standing outside the bathroom, not talking to anyone?
I wouldn't say it goes that far. I would say that if he's usually kind of like always in my vicinity, and then he'll go and hang out with some people and then come back and check in with me, which I appreciate, but I just feel like I I'm being like I'm being supervised at the same time. And I know it's not in a what are you doing type of way. He just really enjoys being with me, I think. But I don't know. I think yes, he's always around me, but I wouldn't say he's like outside the bathroom waiting for me.
Are you sure he's an extrovert?
He has a lot of energy whenever we actually do go out and hang out with his friends. I think he kind of becomes a different person when he's in a relationship or when he's with me, because I can definitely see like he thrives when he's with other people and sees other people. He's a recruiter for a career, so this is what he does for work. But I just don't understand how it has gotten to this point in our relationship.
Interesting.
I'm curious, you mentioned that you guys have talked about ending the relationship, but it kind of sounds like he doesn't want to have like a life out of this relationship. Like what does he think is wrong for you guys to have had that conversation, or just like starting couples therapy? Like what do you think his issues with the relationship are?
I don't even think that he has issues with the relationship. I think that it's just been me saying I'm not happy. I'm not exactly sure like what you can do differently. I've just been like this unhappiness has grown more and more the longer we've been together. And whenever I don't like check in with him and have a discussion about like what I still need, he just assumes that everything's going fine and that we're doing okay.
What do
I
you
don't know if
need?
that
Like,
really answered
describe
your
to me your
question.
perfect relationship. For someone who's been in, is this your first relationship?
No.
Okay, so you've had a couple serious relationships. You're on the verge of ending another one. Now that you've had relationships that have been substantial and meaningful but didn't work out, what would you wish for yourself and your next partner?
I think someone that's nice and like is very family oriented, close with their family.
Is he not nice or family oriented?
Yeah, he definitely is.
I want you to lead with traits that you don't feel like you've gotten out of past relationships.
Okay.
Because I'm having and I'm sure you have every reason to feel however you feel, but I am having a hard time understanding why you want to end this relationship. And not because it's just like, Right. You're describing what sounds like things that the average couple that's, still has some mutual love there. It sounds like some normal issues that every relationship has. You don't have to be in any relationship you don't want to be in. I'm not, telling you to stay, but I'm just trying to understand, qualities that you're not getting out of this relationship that you want in the next. And for someone who's about to end a relationship, I think it would be easy for someone to articulate the qualities that you would want in your next relationship because of,
They're
you're so starved in this current relationship.
Yeah. I would say someone that's independent, that doesn't really need to lean on me for everyday activities or anything around the house for that matter. Someone that's driven. I feel like he's very comfortable in his career. I am always striving to get a promotion, move on to the next chapter in my career. Someone that is able to make decisions on their own without having to check in with me and ask me what I think. I just feel like he doesn't really have a backbone for the most part. I feel like the best way to articulate it is I feel like I take on a lot of the mental load.
What if you just stopped making those decisions? What would that look like?
It would be chaos. Like things wouldn't ever get done around here. I feel like I would just be living in
like what?
I don't think that we would ever really leave the house without, like, if I didn't make plans for us to go and do anything, if I didn't push to hang out with friends, it would kind of be like COVID all over again. We would just be stuck at home together days on end without
how can he be
really do.
How can he be an extrovert if that's
I think it changes when he's in a relationship because he very much, like, before we got together, he was always hanging out with his friends. He played recreational hockey. He did all of these things.
And when you're in couples therapy with him and you're talking about this problem, what does he say to these things? And what is I guess these seem like manageable problems. And I'm just curious what his response to these problems are.
He says he understands, but I can tell he's a little sad or disappointed that I wouldn't want to spend the time with him.
Well, he doesn't understand that you might need a break every once in a while. And by a break, I mean like a night alone. He doesn't understand?
He understands that part, but I feel like sometimes, I don't know if he's trying to do it, but he tries to kind of guilt me like, oh, you haven't seen these people in so long, or, oh, you haven't, like, if that's really what you want, like, I will go without you.
I guess I am curious. What were you hoping to get out of this call?
I guess just figuring out like if these are actually like issues that like are real issues to end a relationship over, because I just feel like deep down, like I'm really just unhappy.
So that part seems obvious. You obviously are emotional about it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time, and I usually don't feel this way on a call, trying to like fully understand what's going on in this relationship or your point of view. Other than like you clearly strongly are frustrated and you clearly feel helpless in a way.
I don't feel that way. I feel really frustrated on your behalf. And I'm thinking like if you were to end things, you're not working right now. I feel like this is a hard question that like I feel bad asking, but have you thought about like what you would do if I assume like, is this his apartment? Would you move out?
Yeah, like I've already like started like researching like the market, like how much like I would, because I've lived alone before, but like just researching the market to see like how much would it be for me to move out? How much would it be for us to break our lease? How much would it be to just go back to living alone again? So I've looked into that, and I've like started applying for jobs outside of where we're living just because he doesn't want to move. That's another aspect. And I definitely don't want to hold myself back because I still am young and I can move for any job that I would want to. So I have thought about what to do, like if we were to break up.
And maybe it is just a compatibility issue with you two, because it's not like I'm willing to bet that he feels like him supporting you through law school or the bar exam was him showing responsibility and love and stepping up and being an adult, which, I mean, hell, he supported you for a year. And I'm not saying you owe him like you need to stay with him, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, I'd love this to be a mediation call. I wish he was here because I would just love to understand, where he's coming from, in a sense. Because like, I guess the cleaning up and him being a little messy and a little spoiled from mom, or I trust me, I've frustrations, but it's just like, I'm having a hard time understanding like why an extrovert doesn't want to ever hang out with his friends or where that's coming from. Or also why it's not like a generally simple conversation to sit down and say, hey, listen, love you. We spend a ton of time together. We spend all our time together, like 99% of our time together. And I need like a little bit of time alone. And why isn't that an easy fix? It doesn't even sound like he's tried.
Yeah. And I think that's also part of the issue is like I brought my frustrations to him and he doesn't really do anything about it. Or he just says, I hear you, but there is no action.
Yeah, I feel like maybe there is something about this that's a bit gendered because like Genevieve and I think are really like, I feel like I really recognize what you're saying. And I've had a lot of female friends who date men who I think sort of seek a certain kind of support that when it's not like where for them, it's a form of participating in the relationship. And when it's not there, it just feels so lonely and so isolating. And it feels like sometimes there's this real disconnect of like their male partners just like not even understanding that this is a dimension of support or like the way that this could look or be experienced. But like for you feel this colossal void of like, this is missing for me in a really big way. And I think and obviously, of course, there's some men who are so in tune and aware of that. But I also think there's a subset of men who are just like, whether it has to do with like not maybe having a ton of like emotional communication infrastructure or just having certain expectations of like, oh, you get married and then it is like you are just each other's person and like you take care of everything for each other, like just have these kind of maybe more like limited views of what partnership looks like. And I think it can be, and maybe less of a willingness to completely understand where the partner is feeling a sense of lacking.
I guess. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Nick? Like, have you like the kind of like this like almost genre of concern?
Maybe I just don't relate to the type of guy he is. I don't know, but and I'm not saying this is not me throwing it in your face, but this is a guy who did like support you through law school for a year. So he's not completely useless.
And that's the thing that's so difficult about it is that it's not like this is like a bad person who doesn't care or doesn't want to do anything. It's that their idea of what it looks like to be in a relationship is sometimes very simple or very like limited of like, he thinks he's doing he's probably doing his best if he's like, I'm paying for you and he loves you, but he doesn't understand that part of what would be serving you best would be just like a different level of like kind of engagement and support and initiative and participation in places that he just doesn't see the opportunity to.
I guess the more we talk, I think it's just compatible. Like you said before, maybe you're not compatible. You said something earlier where you're just like, you want a more motivated partner. You want a partner who's more career driven. And like, it doesn't sound like that's him. Not everyone is like you and me. And there's a problem that I have to a certain degree, which is once I get to a certain destination, I'm always looking for the next one. There's a lot of unhappiness that comes with that mindset. Something just an aside that you should be mindful of someone who can self-identify as like a goal-oriented person. Like the downside of that is never being happy or fulfilled. And he seems to be someone who doesn't necessarily need that for his own fulfillment. And that's just your two personalities. But if it's that important to you to have someone match that in a relationship, then he just may never be your guy. You have to ask yourself, though, have you ever dated someone who that matched your goal setting and kind of attitude towards their career in life?
No.
Okay. It's interesting. Yeah. I'm genuinely curious if you'd actually like it. I don't know. Not everyone likes to date themselves. You know, sometimes there's a balance, and one person being the more goal-oriented person, the other being the person who kind of balances them out, where it's just kind of like, hey, babe, maybe we should just enjoy the moment, you know? My gut tells me that it's one, a compatibility thing, and two, I'm just wondering on your side if it's just you being set in your ways. And my gut tells me you're just as stubborn about what you want as what he wants. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I definitely can see that. And I've been trying to actively work on that. And maybe if that's just me saying like, oh, like I'm trying to work on it and trying to fix it, but he's not. I also just feel like I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to come on, to just see like, is this a compatibility issue, or is this just like, am I just complaining about things that I don't really need to be complaining about? Like I should just be happy with this.
I mean, happiness is relative, but you can't tell yourself to be happy. And I think you have to figure out whether your unhappiness is coming from within or because you're not getting what you need out of the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and if you left this relationship, because I've been in relationships where when they ended, I felt relief and I felt immediate happiness of like, I no longer have this burden that I fought so hard for whatever the reasons were. If you ended it today, how do you think, I don't know if you would feel relief. I don't know.
I don't know, because I mean, he did, when we were talking one time, he asked me, well, when was the last time you were happy? And part of me was like, before I met you, when I was just alone with my dog. And I just don't know if that's just because I feel so suffocated right now.
Well, that might be it. I mean, you clearly, that is valid too. Someone who just needs their own alone time. That just might be who you are, and that's fine, And I relate to that on a lot of levels too. I might need a little bit less than you, but doesn't really matter. Like that's just who you are. And so, yeah, compatibility could be a huge issue for someone who doesn't seem to get that about you, and not only doesn't get that, but doesn't. Makes it about them. I mean, to me, it's like his biggest frustration. If he were here, I'd be like, dude, like, it's not about you that she needs her own alone time. And it doesn't say anything less about her love for you or your connection. But like, and whether you understand it or not, it's your job as her partner to just not make it about you and give her what she needs, as long as you're getting what you need as well. And like, meeting each other's needs is that, just meeting each other's needs. And what can I do for you when you ask something in return? It's like if you ask for something, you immediately have to be asking, well, also, what can I do for you? And you both need to be saying that. And it sounds like neither of you are saying that. It sounds like both of you are more like focused on what you're not getting out of the relationship.
Yeah. And I think that could be something we can try to work on in therapy, but I just don't know if it's just like a little too late for me.
You can also I was in couples therapy when I broke up with my ex. And we did a few sessions after we decided we were breaking up. And it was really helpful to talk about like grief and loss and like, start to process that together in certain ways. So I think it's also something where that resource could also be beneficial in exiting the relationship, not just trying to like kind of fight through it.
Yeah. And I even asked my therapist, I was like, is that something that people do? Like, even though you're going to couples therapy, do people still continue to go after a breakup? So I think that would be helpful too.
There's no norm. Just depends if they both want to,
Yeah.
And just even just like a session or two can be really helpful to have like, a third party who has some expertise and can kind of help you through it. But yeah.
Do you think you're a control freak?
Yeah. And I've worked on it for a while now in therapy. I think that I definitely still have more work to do.
Have all your exes have you been the more dominant person in the relationships you've had?
I think this is the first relationship where I've actually like stood up for what I want rather than just kind of go with whatever they want.
Okay. I'm just curious what you want for yourself in a next relationship or what your next partner looks like. You know, are they more established? Are they older than you? You know, like if compatibility is the reason why this relationship is ending, I'm curious. It's really important for you to know what compatibility traits are most important for you in a relationship. You know, because liking the same movies is a compatibility point, but for you, it might not be as important as being compatibility with how much quality time you guys need to make the relationship work, you know? And quality time isn't always this time together, you know? The emphasis is on quality, not the time. But I think it's just really important for you to figure out what those compatibility points are. Because I don't think you know yet.
No. And I don't know. I think I also still feel guilty that like nothing specifically has like gone wrong in a relationship.
What do you mean?
To be able to
That's not true. You're like, hey, I want some alone time. He's like, no, I won't give it to you. That's specific.
Yeah.
But I'm just, yeah, if that's actually what's going on, you know,
Yeah.
I wish I was there for a fight between you guys, you know, because feel like there's information I'm not getting. Not that you're withholding or anything. It is one of those things where you're having a hard time articulating why you're unhappy. So I'm having a hard time. And I get some of these little things that you pointed out. I get, you know, like, listen, no one wants to, you know, it'd be frustrating someone who acts like they're incapable of. Is he that incapable of making decisions or doing anything?
I want to say no.
Do you respect him?
Yeah, I respect him, but I think part of the issue is I respect myself more.
What do you love about him?
That he's a very, very kind person. Like he would literally, like, we live downtown in our city, and he goes out of his way, like going to the store and getting food for like the homeless people to make sure whenever he passes them, he hands out food. So he does a lot of selfless things. So I do appreciate that about him because I feel like I could be more selfless.
What does he do that's selfless for you?
I think that might be part of what the issue is. I feel like he's selfless towards everyone but me.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's a clear answer here. And I'm sorry if I didn't give you the clarity that you were looking for when you called. I do feel like at the end of the day, not feeling that you're compatible with something is a valid reason to break up with someone. I just think it's really important for you to figure out what you prioritize in a relationship. And then going forward, I think it's important for you to, like, I would ask yourself, if you could have done this relationship over again, at what point would you had addressed some of these frustrations you're dealing with now? Like, how could you have gotten answers quicker? You know, what conversations didn't you have when you guys first started dating that would have given you more insight into what things he prioritized and what things he didn't prioritize? You know, in terms of like quality time, or what are his expectations when he's in a relationship with his partner? How does he act in a relationship? And then whether, you know, and do they follow through with the things they say early on? You know, because it sounds like a lot of this was all revelations to you as the relationship unfolded.
And I think a lot of them I kind of ignored as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you're going through this.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm crying.
No, that's okay.
Don't apologize. It's really hard. It sucks being lonely in a relationship.
Yeah. I wish I would have been able to articulate it better for you, but I think you guys have really helped, like, kind of give a different perspective and like what you're seeing and hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if it sounds like you don't think he wants to end the relationship, but you do. But if you really are at your wit's end, like, why don't you just lay it all out there for him and be like, because that's the thing. None of these problems that you're articulating sound unsolvable, but none of it happens unless he decides to solve the problem. Or as a couple, you guys decide to solve it together. So lay it all on the line, and it's like either you want to do it or you don't. But I can't make you do it. I can't make you want to do it. And I am, what more than anything, tired of asking. So like, if you don't want to do it, it's fine. We'll just go our separate ways. But if you want to too, then I need to see that you want to,
And I think whenever we do have these discussions, I feel like I am either given like excuses for why they can't change or they are changed like temporarily.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. If you guys ever come back on as a mediation, I'm here for you guys.
Yeah.
Because I'm really,
so
I would love to hear his point of view, whatever it is. I am curious just because I'm sure he has one, and I'm sure it sounds like the way you talk about it, he's frustrated about everything. He's vented, he's put out, he's thrown out the whole money shit. So he has his frustrations, but I also want to, I just want to know what he would say. I'm confused. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I just, I don't know what to think at this point about it all.
Well, you got to do something, make a choice one way or the other. You'll get information out of it,
Yeah.
But you can't keep doing this. This isn't accomplishing anything, being sad and feeling frustrated, maybe it'll be a wake up call. I don't know. So I would just make a choice one way or the other and then go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Keep us posted. I'm invested. I want to hear what happens here. Sorry if I wasn't as helpful as you hoped I would be.
Oh no, you definitely gave me some good things to think about.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. This show is sponsored by Rakuten. If you're getting ready to do your holiday shopping at whatever store, truly, literally almost any store, make sure you head to Rakuten first, because Rakuten helps you save big on whatever you're buying for this holiday season. Whether it's Walmart, Macy's, Bloomingdale's, I'm just listing stores off the top of my head. Getting gifts for friends and family? Well, get some cash back for yourself along the way. Plus, save on festive home decor, party outfits, and that trip to see your family. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on top of the biggest sales of the season, so you can get more and more savings, and it's easy to use. Just start your shopping at Rakuten.com or use the Rakuten app. You'll get your cash back payments through PayPal or a check. They literally will mail you a check, or more conveniently, deposit it directly into your PayPal. Rakuten partners with over 3,700 stores. You heard it right, 3,700 stores. The stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Join for free at Rakuten.com or get the Rakuten app today. That's Rakuten, Rakuten.com, or download the Rakuten app today. Start shopping now and get that cash back. There is no downside to shopping and earning money at the same time. It seems too good to be true, but it's not. It's Rakuten. Drizzly, the #1 way to get beer, wine, and spirits delivered directly to your doorstep when you need it.
Nothing makes the holiday like a fun, festive little drink, whether you're feeling like an eggnog, a mistletoe margarita, the Scrooge driver, North Pole punch. It's the great way to elevate.
Scrooge driver. Love that.
Shout out to Drizzly.
Orange juice, vodka, and a little humbug. But truly, Drizzly, it makes partying so convenient and fun. My favorite thing about Drizzly, it's the last minute gift shopping that makes you the hero that you're not. Because we've all forgotten to buy that gift. Oh, I'm supposed to bring something to the party. Well, just get on drizzly.com, go to their app, and have them deliver that bottle of wine or that spirit or that craft beer that you forgot to bring.
Everybody has their exact favorite brand of thing, whether it's Bullet Bourbon, Don Julio Reposado, Kettle One. All of these amazing brands are available.
Drizzly, again, it's the go-to app to get drinks delivered, especially during the holiday season. Drizzly offers one of the widest selections of beer, wine, and spirits available. Shop curated gift guides, get recommendations from experts, and discover drinks for all of your holiday festivities delivered to your door with Drizzly. Compare prices on drinks from local stores to save time and money when shopping. So, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. The go-to app for alcohol delivery must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. How's it going?
Hi, I'm Talia. I'm 25.
Hi, I'm Jake. I'm 27.
we're wondering if we should continue our pattern of being a bit unhinged and get married at the end of this year.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Well, let's find out. Jake, I couldn't help but hear a bit of an accent.
Yeah, I'm British.
Uh,
So
I'm curious, does you being British and having an accent have anything to do with this fast-paced love affair?
yeah, you've nailed it on the head. So I guess a bit of a backstory. We're coming up to a year together, but we met on a plane to Dublin, Ireland, and I wasn't man enough to ask for her number, even though she was sitting right next to me. So it was a missed opportunity. Then by some coincidence, a month later, we reconnected on a dating app, and I dropped her a message and said, by any chance did I sit next to you on a flight to Dublin? And pretty much since then, we've been moving fast paced and unhinged as she describes it. I think part of it is we've gone through a lot of, I guess, a key relationship milestones together, which we're both comfortable and enjoy, but we're a bit worried that we're moving so fast that we're not actually enjoying the aspects of a relationship that most people would ordinarily enjoy.
Yeah. How old are you both again?
25.
27.
Okay. And you've been together how long?
It'll be a year next month.
Okay.
Not very long.
And why is marriage on the table?
So my visa is currently tied to my firm, and I've been wanting to move jobs for quite a while.
Okay.
So it's mainly driven by just wanting to move firms. We've already discussed, and we both definitely do want to get married at some point in the future, but the job is really impacting it right now.
Gotcha. And you want to move to the United Kingdom, sounds like.
We're already here. We're in London right now.
You're in London right now. But
Yeah.
if you change firms or jobs or quit, then you get kicked out?
I will be deported immediately. Yeah.
Immediately. And she just
30 days to be fair, but yeah.
30 days. I mean, yeah, as far as your personal relationship lives, it's a terrible idea. You might have the benefit of it might all work out, you know. You're in a tough position because clearly you guys are excited. And I'm guessing your version of the story goes something like this. I know this is crazy, but everything's been great so far. So if we know we're going to get married someday, why not get married now?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I think part of it is for both of us, it's whilst we acknowledge it's been rushed, it's felt comfortable throughout the whole process. And I think that's one of the big attractions, at least from me to her, in the sense that nothing's felt uncomfortable in past relationships, and it's gone at a speed, albeit quick.
Yeah.
That we both are excited about. So that's, I guess, part of our concern that it's not.
How do you guys fight?
This is going to completely prove your side of things. We were in couples therapy for a little bit just because I was very hard pushing that side of things.
Yeah, the trouble was we were too open with communication.
Yeah, we were a bit too honest.
You did fight.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a good sign. I was more concerned. I was half expecting an answer of well, we haven't yet. It's all been great. Okay.
No, part of moving so fast, it also creates stresses, especially being from two different countries, albeit speak the same language, but quite different cultures. English and American culture is quite different. So it creates its own conflicts in itself. And then relationships are never easy, and they're never easy to work through. So we've had a lot of challenges, but ultimately it's been, I think we can both acknowledge, a good relationship and an interesting relationship for both of us, and one that we are both excited and willing to pursue. And whilst the marriage does seem unhinged, it's a commitment, or at least I see it as a commitment to have that future that we both say that we want to have, because obviously we do have that kind of international barrier in our relationship.
I mean, what conversations have you had around, ways this couldn't work out?
Just in terms, I feel like my biggest concern with it is I feel like I'm being selfish in a sense, because if the visa wasn't really an issue, we wouldn't be speeding up the marriage. It wouldn't be, this year wouldn't be 1 year into us dating. So I feel like that's my main concern, is that if we rush it, we're not actually cherishing each step as it comes, and resentment might come into it. I feel like that's more of a concern, that resentment would come in.
Who would be resentful of who?
I would be worried that he'd be resentful of me just because.
Why?
Making the relationship go much quicker.
And why?
It's kind of my situation.
And because you want to leave jobs?
Yeah.
So you could stay at your current job.
Yeah. I have
Not
3 more years and I'll be sent home.
okay. And how does that make you feel, Jake? Like, what are your thoughts about her job and her relationship with you and her opportunities outside of this job? Like, what opinions do you have about that?
I want to support her. So as we have quite open communication. So if that's something that she wants, and then I will obviously want to be. I'm in a position to enable her to pursue that ambition that she has, and the long term goal is for I guess us to be together. And I also want her to be in a job that she finds fulfilling and rewarding. And I think a marriage would, like I say, provide that commitment to the future, but it's also a commitment in the relationship that we have, and a belief that in the relationship that, although it's been a year, we both consider it to be quite a strong one. And I think we can both acknowledge it's not felt like this with previous partners, which we both haven't had the easiest relationship with our previous partners. So this is, I think, for once feels like a healthy one, and one we want to pursue.
Who first broached the possibility of getting married?
Jake did, and I was quite hypocritical. I said no, because the original plan was for us to move back to America in a year or so time, and his firm wasn't going to be able to sponsor him. So he would have needed a visa marriage. And me being me, I immediately said no, because it was like 4 months into us dating. And now the rules are reversed. I want to move firms, and now I need him to say yes to it. So thankfully he said yes to it, but it's incredibly hypocritical of me.
I don't know if it's, I feel like you're being hard on yourself. I mean,
Is that not kind of, I said no immediately though. He's at least considered it.
I mean, everything, lots changed. I mean, you went from, you've dated for 4 months to 12 months which is like 60% different, I mean.
Yeah.
I think the reason we say our relationship's unhinged is because it's not just the marriage thing as well. I'm not sure if we said it in our introduction, but we also recently put an offer on a house, which wasn't accepted, but it's something that we're looking to do. So I feel like I think our biggest concern is that not necessarily where we are in our relationship, it's more just the key milestones that people enjoy as part of a relationship. The only one we're not actively doing anytime in the future, which we both agree on, is obviously starting a family or anything. But other than that, that's all we have left. And I think part of a relationship is enjoying the moments and the special moments. And I think at the speed we're going at, that's our biggest resentment. And I guess potential regret is that it's missed opportunities that we actually took the time to enjoy those special moments in our relationship.
What are those moments you feel like you might have lost out on?
Like within a month of us meeting the second time, he flew out to America to meet my family. 4 months after that, I flew to Israel to meet his family, and I moved in with them. And now 11 months in, we put an offering on a house together. It's just a matter of going so fast. And when it does come to getting married for real, like, because we've already agreed this one will just be kind of a ceremonious celebration for the visa, and then we'll get real married, however you want to put that, in the future. I feel like that takes away from it because we've already done it once. It's not as special now.
Yeah, that's just a matter of perspective. And as far as you guys as individuals, like, do you think that both of you as individuals, are there patterns here that are similar? And by patterns, I mean like the speed in which you move and because your biggest concern is the way I see it, is the adrenaline of all these moments and the hype that it brings to the relationship and the natural chemistry that it creates between the two of you. Eventually, life is going to slow down for the two of you. And then the big question is, will then you two as individuals be willing to put in the work in a relationship to stay connected? Because right now, so the pace of which you're going and all these milestones is allowing you guys to stay and be connected with probably minimal effort.
That's kind of how it's been from the get-go. It's been so exciting, so fun. So this is new for us because, I mean, I've never moved this quickly, and I don't think you have either.
But that's a good thing.
Is a lot of adrenaline.
So there's not a pattern there, I think, which is a good thing. And you're not the first couple that's gone through a honeymoon phase. So you have that going for you.
I mean, I feel like that ended quite quickly.
Yeah. I mean, are you guys?
Your point. It's not been the easiest year, so we did argue for the first kind of couple of months. I think because of those teething points that we had that what we discussed earlier. So I feel like we're probably just getting into our honeymoon phase now, which is why I guess we're kind of questioning, are we not enjoying the moments that we should be enjoying?
I am less worried about you guys enjoying the moments. I don't think that's the question you guys have to figure out. I think there's two big questions that you guys have to try to figure out as close as you can if you were to decide to get married. One is, when you guys fight, you have fun, so that's a good sign. So you have something to reflect back on. Do you feel as a couple that you've learned to fight fairly? And do you guys approach these disagreements with a common goal from the POV of the relationship to solve the problem? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, or do you fight to win, so to speak? Because there's always going to be conflict from time to time in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to bring up those conflict, but your ability to A, be willing to work through it, and B, ask for help, couples therapy. You know, that's a huge green flag for the both of you that you guys were willing to do that. So it's like, hey, yeah, we moved fast. This isn't a typical situation. My fiance and I, Natalie, as soon as she moved to LA, she moved in with me. Very like, it's not advice I would give to someone, you know, and I give advice a lot, you know, but it's like it was a risk. It was the best choice given our situation at the time, and we just figured out how to make it work, you know? You know, and so we've prioritized, you know, we made ourselves aware of the potential shortcomings, the obstacles, the stresses that could come with us doing what we did. And we acknowledged those stresses so that when those stresses showed up, it didn't freak us out. And then there was a mutual commitment with each other to work through the issues when they popped up. Because it wasn't a matter of if they're going to pop up. It was when they pop up, what are we going to do? And, you know, do we feel like the other person's going to, you know, keep their side of the bargain and work with me when those problems arise? You know, and it sounds like you guys have a decent baseline for that. But yeah, it's that. How do you work through fights, and are you committed? Yeah, the second part is, how committed are you guys to staying connected? You know, doing the work, because you don't know the future. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how your feelings are going to evolve. And every married couple, regardless of if they met on a plane, living in two separate countries, or, you know, were high school sweethearts or dated for 7 years. When you get married, life happens, and you're going to have to make a very considerable effort to maintain the connection in that day that happened so easily in the beginning. That's why people call it a honeymoon phase, because it's essentially like the amount of time where you are allowed to put minimal effort in your connection and nevertheless felt very connected. Because once that honeymoon phase ends, it is going to own that connection between the two of you is only going to come from the effort you two both put in the relationship. And then when one person puts in more than the other person feels a bit, you know, that's where the resentment comes in. You're both making a sacrifice, you know, so this, you know, fear of resentment from the other person, I don't know, if you both just acknowledge that you're both taking a big fucking risk with your lives, you know, and he's responsible for his choices. You're responsible for yours.
I think the question is, when it's good, should you not enjoy it?
Are you guys not enjoying your relationship?
No, we are. But if we're in a moment where now we are enjoying it, why I guess stress, like marriages, weddings, all that type of stuff? But you have to do planning. Like it's not, you've got like just external stresses that kind of will add to your relationship. But
you guys,
part of it is just enjoy the moment, live in the moment, and why taint something that's good. But then again, you could get married and it's be 10 times better. But I guess come back to what you're saying, it's the unknowns, and you just got to kind of go with it sometimes. Just jump in. Yeah,
I don't think you guys should get married because you think it's going to make your relationship better. Because it definitely won't. Like what you guys put into the relationship will make it better.
It seems like maybe you're almost saying that like you won't get to savor certain steps, like because you were talking about milestones, and it seems like kind of the way you're framing it is that it's like with each step of a relationship, there's some kind of unique joys or things you get to experience. And so if you kind of accelerate at this pace, you're missing out on savoring like joy in between those milestones. But
Mhm.
I think, I don't know. It just feels like, especially if you're saying like this could be a marriage on paper and doesn't necessarily need to be the ceremony. Like, I think for so many people, it is the symbolism. It's the families merging, getting together. So I think that's still something
Yeah.
where you could plan your wedding together. You could look forward to it. Also, you know, kids is obviously a huge change to your life. And just because you've taken these other milestones fast doesn't mean you're suddenly going to be on the accelerated path to having kids. Like, you can kind of do the pre-kid savoring all from like marriage to having kids, as opposed to from like meeting to having kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's ways you guys can savor whatever moments you want to savor in the relationship.
Because so much of it is like kind of the ways that you treat each other, or like, you know, it's the anniversaries. It's like the having, not just spending holidays together the first time, it's spending them together the second time. Like, so many of them, yes, there's certainly like these external milestones that are visible to everyone that are big, like markers of time and kind of the phase of a relationship. But there's also so many ones that are just like not official in that way that you still will get to experience fully.
What does your guts tell you guys? Like, is getting married the right decision? Because we know it's not the easy decision. Like, for example, when I use the example of Natalie moving in with me, that was not like my first choice of like how I thought a relationship would start. You know, it wasn't like I wasn't giving the advice I often give other people. But like, life happens. You have to make sometimes tough choices. You have to work with the ingredients you have, so to speak. And so, you know, here you have this problem. This problem being is you don't like your job and you don't want to stay in it for 3 more years. And so now you have to decide whether you can maintain a certain level of happiness in your career and hope that doesn't bleed into your romantic relationship. Or like, how do you make a long distance relationship work? Well, in a relationship, I mean, I guess, are you both in the relationship where you're wanting to be selfless for the person you love? Because that is what a relationship is, you know? Like, it is making selfless choices for each other. And if you guys choose to get married, it's not based off of, you know, you're not doing it for attention, you're not doing it for recognition, you're doing it for each other. And doing things for each other more than anything is what makes you happy, you know, and hopefully that lasts. But that's why you're doing it, because if, you know, otherwise you got to go back, you know, to the States, and then it's a long distance relationship, and then you have to miss each other. So, you know, Jake isn't being selfless when he says, let's get married. You know, he wants to be with you. He wants, right? I mean, he doesn't want to spend every other weekend with you, you know? He doesn't
He wants to prioritize the relationship.
He wants to prioritize the relationship, but that's a choice that he's making.
Yeah.
And you both just have to own those choices. I can't predict the future, you know, but that's what I'm saying. If you guys decide to go forward with this, it is just being super honest about like what this relationship needs, you know, and your guys' commitment to making sure that relationship needs. It's recognizing that you're going to have stresses, that there will be problems. It's that things will slow down. How do you guys soothe each other when the other person is questioning things? How do you guys just be a team, you know, and work through those challenges? Because every couple's going to face that. You know, don't psych yourself out because you're making an unconventional decision and moving things faster out of necessity, and then thinking, well, the relationship's not going to work because I'm not doing every step exactly how the books say or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you just have to make crazy choices. But if you guys truly feel like you love each other and truly feel like right now you guys are on a path to getting married and it's just happening a little sooner than you otherwise would, maybe it's worth the risk, you know? It's always going to be a risk. You never, you know, you could date for 10 years. I mean, I hear a ton of people. It's like, oh, I'm dating my high school sweetheart. You dated for 10 years. You had a 5-year engagement, and then you're married for a year, and they break up. You know, it's like, because the amount of times the amount of years that you date, you know, before you get married doesn't determine the success of your relationship. You know, arranged marriages have a great track record, because in arranged marriages, they're more, and this is my guess, just guessing, but I think part of the reason why arranged marriages have such a great track record is because of their value system, in terms of like, they're here to make this marriage work. You know, they're here to work through their problems. You know, it's not, they don't go into these marriages thinking, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll get divorced. You know, they address the problems. They work through their problems, and you know, some people stay married and they're miserable just because. So, you know, refusing to get divorced isn't the sign of a successful marriage. But the couples, again, who prioritize the relationship and then prioritize each other's happiness and go out of their way to make each other feel valued and seen is what always is going to make a relationship worthwhile. And you guys have to decide whether you're both willing to do that going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank
you know,
you.
and
Yeah.
I don't think that's as unhinged as you sound, you know, because that's the thing. You can psych yourselves out. Like, if you're going to make this decision, you should feel good about this decision. Don't make this decision and be like, are we sure we're doing the right thing? Is this crazy? We're crazy, you know, like, yeah.
I think it's mainly just like I've spoken about it to a few of my friends, and their immediate reactions were, are you kidding? Like, are you serious? Like, are you really going to do that? So I think I'm letting that influence me as well in terms of.
Don't tell the story. I think I'm going to get married for a green card.
For a
Of
visa.
course, everyone's going to think you're crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, could you split the difference? Could you wait a year to quit? You know, like, you have 3 years left in your contract. Could you
Just wait it out more.
I don't know, a little bit more. I don't know.
If you think that there's peace of mind that would come between now and however much more you would work in your job. But if you're just doing it so that way on paper, it looks a little bit better and you feel less judged by your friends, but you still know in your gut that, like, you guys want to move forward with this and it sounds crazy, but it feels right, then I think you guys should be entitled to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could easily get married in a courthouse and then, to Amanda's point, like, have a celebration a year or two later when it makes more sense. And those are the moments you would enjoy, you know, and then you can tell your friends, I told you so. It'd be less of a wedding and more like a gloating opportunity.
Yeah, a victory lap.
That's a victory lap.
We're
Yeah.
going to do a party, red, white, and blue. Both flags.
But my big thing is, if you're going to get married, if you're going to do this, you know, you need to both be super honest with yourself. That you both are just as excited. Like, when I say the only reason two people should move in with each other before they get engaged or they're married is because they're both mutually excited to do so. So you both need to be mutually excited to do this. You can have fears and you can have your reservations, but no one should be convincing the other person. You know, you both have to be honest with yourself that you're speaking from the heart, so to speak. And if you have to give the other person permission to voice a concern or a frustration without getting defensive and making it about yourself. You kind of have to put all things on the table, you know. But if you are both mutually excited and committed to making this relationship work, then, you know, people have made worse decisions for themselves.
Fair point.
But what does your guts tell you? I know I asked you and then kind of blew over that.
My gut from the start of this relationship has always been to do to kind of do what needs to be done to make this relationship a success if we both want this relationship to work, because there are barriers, and dating someone from a different country is not easy. There's a physical barrier. So for me, if we go down this route, it's about the commitment to our relationship and what we want our future to be, rather than thinking of it as an actual kind of marriage, because it should be a celebration. I've always wanted it to be like a kind of a commitment ceremony, if you will, but in quotation marks. So I'm excited for it because I'm excited about the future with Talia.
I mean, I have friends who met unconventionally on a TV show, got married in a courthouse. She was Canadian, he is American. And then they, you know, like a year later, had a wedding and a celebration. They seem to be going great. I love them both. You know, I think they're going to work out. You know, time will tell, so to speak, type of thing. You guys, your story isn't that much different. I think there's a lot to be said about saying, hey, I want to make it work with you. Because that's the only way relationships do work, is to have that type of energy.
Do you think people give up too quickly?
100%. Yeah, especially nowadays. Yeah. But at the same time, you're also talking to someone who has a track record in the past of staying in relationships far too long because I was too stubborn to realize that this relationship wasn't serving me and things like that. So it is a balance. But it sounds like your fights that you guys have had. Now, like, it's a big question, these fights that you said you had, do you feel like they were resolved, or you feel like you guys just kind of gave up out of exhaustion?
No, we definitely, yeah.
They were resolved.
We fought long enough about them, and the therapy helped.
It was mainly to do, I think you touched on it earlier, about someone giving up something and it's compromises and all that type of stuff. But it's a part of the relationship that we want. And the reality is, again, like being from two different countries, that compromises will have to happen. And it's just a way that we need to communicate and I guess find a balance that we're both mutually happy with and agreeing with.
That's
and that took time, I think, and that took difference. Well, yeah, it just took time to work through. And I think that we discussed it earlier. The more that we argued, we were kind of like a 1% each time, getting a better understanding of each other and how we argue and how we communicate. So although the arguments weren't pleasant or nice, with each argument, we did actually become closer because we learned another percentage point about how the other communicates, how the other person argues, and actually what we're trying and the messages we're trying to convey.
I think that's significant. And I think that goes a lot further in determining your guys' success than how long you dated for prior to getting married. Because like arguments are useful things in a relationship, because depending on how you approach those arguments, it hopefully allows you guys to get on the same page. The only reason you're arguing is because you're not on the same page. It's just like a notification of, hey, there's a disconnect here. And if you're in a relationship, the whole point of being in a relationship is to try not to have those disconnects, because that's the whole point of a relationship, is to be connected. But too many people approach these arguments as like an opportunity to be right and have the other person apologize. And if, it doesn't sound like that's how you guys approach it, that's a great sign,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to maintain that approach so that when you do argue, your first thought isn't to like make sure that you're understood. When you guys are in a fight, the recognition in your relationship should be like, my partner sees this situation differently and they are just as frustrated as I am, and immediately putting yourself in their shoes so that and tell yourself we're going to get through this argument by coming together with a mutual understanding. Not when someone like says, I'm sorry, you were right, I was wrong. I mean, I guess unless someone like really like, you're mad because they just fucked up. But when it's like something you guys are just not seeing eye to eye, no one wins by one person, conceding the flag and saying, you're right, I was wrong. I suck, you're the best. I'm the dumbest, you're the smartest. Like no one wins there. That's where resentment comes in.
Pisses people off more.
Yeah. So if you guys have the confidence that you're willing to do that, and these disagreements have brought you closer together, that's a great sign, man. I think you're as well equipped as any young couple to move things fast as, if you guys decide to do this, you have to respect each other's decision to make decisions for themselves. You didn't make the other person do that. They made their own choice. They were entitled to say no. They didn't, and they have to own that. So you don't get to throw it in each other's face 6 months from now, so to speak.
Yeah.
Tell a different version of your story.
Yeah.
It's a great story. What do you mean? It's a great story.
No, I mean, just don't be so, if you guys get married, don't be so self-deprecating.
I feel like you guys are erring on, like, sometimes people go the opposite way. They're like, it's a fairy tale and it's perfect. And they blow past all the other stuff. And it feels like you guys are being so self-aware and so pragmatic.
You're like, what a train wreck, like whatever. It's just like, no, you're not. You're two people who met unconventionally, just realized there was a real special connection here, and you've busted your ass to make it work. That's a nice little story. That's better than,
we've still that one.
We've moved so fast and we're a bunch of, crazy kids who have thrown caution to the wind. That doesn't sound like you've thrown caution to the wind. It just sounds like you've, met a person you didn't expect to meet, and you're trying to fight for something you think is special.
Mm-hmm. So we tend to get the whole, it's a rom-com how you met. That's so cute. So that's another kind of odd enough added pressure.
Yeah. Well, your
Everyone
relation
around us is
yeah.
so.
Well, they are, but as long as you guys aren't selling that, like feeding into that bullshit, because your relationship doesn't care how you met.
Yeah.
It really does not. Your relationship will not care that you met on a plane and like, you know, serendipity like brought you back together on the dating apps. It doesn't care. That's not going to make you guys want to work through a fight or come together and not try to win. You know, it won't. But you guys seem to understand that, and so I'm, you know.
It was a process, though. It wasn't easy, but yeah, we've come out of it.
A lot of therapy.
Relationships aren't easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's more reassuring. And I know this is like the opposite of like objective, helpful advice, but like I would bet on you guys. There's something about your energy that like I think feels really good. Where I'm like, you guys seem really fucking happy and really self-aware, and like I believe that it would be like totally work out.
Yeah. And Nally and I aren't together because it's easy. We're together because we work really hard on it. There's a lot of aspects of a relationship that are fun and easy. And I'm assuming you guys, for the most part, really enjoy each other. But every relationship takes a shit ton of work, especially nowadays. So working hard at a relationship is not a negative. Yeah. I don't think so.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, shit, man. Good luck.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for your vote of confidence. We appreciate it.
Yeah, keep us posted. Just be honest with each other. You know, don't lie to yourselves, don't lie to each other, and don't make the other person feel judged for expressing fears and vulnerability. Because sometimes when couples do that, and you're like, "Hey, can I tell you something I'm worried about?" And then the other person immediately makes it about them. Yeah. You know, it's like, "Well, I thought you loved me." It's like, I do. I'm just like feeling a little certain way. You know.
That makes sense. We need to make space for each other, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's a little scary sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck. Keep us posted.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
We are invested in this love story.
We'll invite you to the wedding.
All right. Sounds good.
The ceremony.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
People, we know you've been putting off going to the doctor.
We know it.
Maybe it's that itch or that achy feeling, or you haven't gone to the dentist in a while, or maybe it's a dermatologist appointment you've been putting off. Maybe it's your eyes you need to get checked out because you're just squinting a little too much. And maybe you've left the nest recently. You moved out of mom and dad's house and you're just like, who's my primary care physician? I don't have a dentist in this new city that I am. It's challenging to find a doctor that you can trust, that you know, especially if it's not one you inherited from your parents. And then, oh my God, are they available? Are they booked out 6 weeks in advance? Do they even take your insurance? These are so many irritating questions when it comes to getting the healthcare that you need. Well, the good news is ZocDoc is there for you to save the day.
It's amazing. ZocDoc is a free app where you can find amazing doctors and book the appointments online, so it is ultra convenient. We're talking about booking appointments with thousands of top-rated patient-reviewed doctors and specialists. You can filter specifically for ones who take your insurance, are located near you, and treat almost any condition you're searching for. My dentist I found on ZocDoc, and she is the absolute best. I use ZocDoc. I really think you should too. It's so awesome.
ZocDoc is here to save your day. All you got to do is download the ZocDoc app today or go to ZocDoc.com. Again, go to ZocDoc.com/VIALL and download the ZocDoc app for free today. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That is ZocDoc.com/VIALL. ZocDoc.com/VIALL.
I absolutely adore my boyfriend.
Thank God.
If I have one qualm, it's that I like to talk about a relationship. Like I like to talk about how it's going. I like to debrief a little bit more frequently than he might think to. I cannot tell you how much Paired has been an godsend for me. It is an app that you download, you get a code, then your partner downloads it. You send them your code. It's easy peas to get set up. And then there's so many fun questions. There's quizzes. There's various kind of discussion starters and connectivity prompts that you can both answer. Once you've both answered them, you get to see what the other person said.
It's Paired. It's a relationship app for couples, and you and your partner download the app Pair together, and Everyday Pair gives you questions, quizzes, and games to have fun, stay connected, we love that, and deepen your conversations.
I did a really fun quiz called You or Me, Attachment Styles, where we both kind of answered, but in the relationship, who we thought was more X or more Y or more Z. And we got a 90% of the exact same answers, and it was so satisfying.
Whether it's just been a few dates or you've been together for a long time, it's time to lighten the mood and have fun with your partner by using Paired. Head to paired.com/VIALL to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off if you sign up for a subscription. Just head to Paired, that's PAIRED.com/VIALL to sign up today. Connect with your partner every day using Paired. A happy relationship starts here. How's it going?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Jenna. I'm 26.
How can we help?
I'm trying to figure out if my guy friend is into me.
Okay. Tell us about this friend.
So I'd say we've been friends for about over 7 years. We've met through college, basically, mutual friend. And we haven't been I should say close until the last year. I would say we've become a little bit more close. We live about an hour apart from each other, as do a lot of our friends. We're all kind of spread out. So, but we still probably all get together once a month, sort of something like that. But yeah, I would say we went on our first group trip last year, and it was just it was only me and him. We're the only single people on this trip. So I don't know. Being with a bunch of couples, it's kind of weird, kind of awkward at times. So got to know him a little bit more, started hanging out more, and I just noticed him being more comfortable around me. He's a very quiet guy. Let's just say it's one of those people who is definitely more of a listener than the talker. So it's very hard to keep a conversation going, I've found. But just recently, I feel like he's been more talkative and open with me. And at first, I kind of take that as, oh, he's just become more comfortable with me and we've just built a stronger bond. But then there's just been more touchiness, I guess, and flirtiness I've noticed in our last few conversations.
Touching how?
Well, just if we're out at a bar or wherever, just arms around each other, just hugging or whatever. And I noticed he did that a few times. And I'm like, am I overlooking this, or is he looking for more reasons to become closer, I guess, if that makes any sense.
So he placed his hand on the small of your back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for you, I think that analogy is a little bit more when it comes to strangers and guys at bars,
Okay.
For someone he has a rapport with, depending on, I don't think it's, do you think it was unnecessary for him to do that? What was the reason he put his hand on the small of your back? Was he guiding you somewhere?
No, he was getting by. But the weird thing is there was lots of room to just get by. We weren't in a crowded spot, if that makes sense. There's a lot of, he's like, oh, sorry, I'm just squeezing by here. And
well, we haven't addressed the most important question. How do you feel about him?
I'll just say from the beginning of meeting him, he's a very attractive person for sure. Not just in his looks, but the way he carries himself. But I've never looked into that further. But since noticing things in the last year, I've kind of started to see him in a different light, I guess. So I would say right now, there might be a little bit of feelings there on my end starting to form, but I'm also very guarded at the same time because I just fear rejection, I guess, in that sense. Yeah.
If he called you up right now and said, I'm going to finally be honest with you. I've been doing nothing but thinking about you and I'd love to take you on a date. You would say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say yes to that probably. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we should just stop with the narrative of, I think I maybe possibly have feelings for my friend, but no big deal if not. It sounds like he's just a guy are very attracted to and would absolutely like, but you don't know how he feels about you, so you've just friend zoned him.
Right.
With the information I have, I can't give you an honest assessment, and I probably won't be able to. You know,
Right.
we can make a lot of guesses,
Yeah.
but you might just have to
like-
go ahead and put yourself out there.
That's kind of what I'm thinking here. We actually we have another trip coming up or whatever next week.
This group
So-
trip? What is this group that goes on all these vacations together?
It's just an excuse to get out of this small area that we live in, I guess. I don't know. We all just like to travel. It's a very extended friend group, and it's just more people have kind of added into it or whatever. But we're going south, and yeah, it's going to definitely be a little bit more. There's going to be a lot of time alone, if that makes sense. Because
Well, I
again,
mean,
only thing.
But just
only
tell us, what are you
single
going to do?
people
You don't have to be cryptic. Yeah.
there.
What do you mean by a lot of time alone?
We're sharing a room.
Oh, well, how did that come?
How did?
Yeah,
Yeah. Pray tell.
Okay. So when we were kind of booking all of this or whatever, we both hadn't booked yet or whatever. And he said, oh, well, it just makes more sense. It's cheaper if we just share a room or whatever. Are you good with that? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Are
Not a
there
big
two
deal.
queen beds or one king bed?
There's two queens.
No.
Mm.
Well,
Call
it
the
would have
hotel.
been
Call
it
the
would have
hotel.
been very forward of him to be like, we're sharing a room and we're sharing a bed. You know, you can still sleep together in a queen bed
But
if you want.
That wasn't why I asked, though. Because if he sees this friendship as just that, a platonic friendship, then as a friend, he'd have no problem ask you to share a room. There wouldn't be a, you know, it would be like,
Right.
okay, you know, I'm an adult. I can share a room with a woman without it being inappropriate or weird, and et cetera, you know. So
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's not like definitely a bed. It's not like because there's two queen beds. It's certainly non-romantic. Is all I'm saying.
the big question you got to ask yourself is because here's how I see it. You haven't been totally honest with yourself the past year. You've
No.
always liked him. You've always had a crush on him. You have suppressed those feelings in order to maintain a friendship with him. And now, as the relationship has evolved and you've gotten to know him even more, you like him even more, and now you actually have a rapport as friends. But now that he has gotten comfortable with you, you are having a hard time distinguishing between, is it just comfortability on the part of a platonic friend, or is it him acting differently with you and trying to give you signals that maybe there's some mutual interest?
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't really know the answer.
Yeah. It's tricky because you also don't want to ruin something.
Well, let me add,
Either.
yeah, well, no. Yeah, you're not ruining anything. And maybe this vacation group, you might be ruining that.
Yeah.
But like, how long are you going to pretend to have a crush on a guy with and be friends with them and share a hotel room? It's just like you're getting into torture mode.
Yeah. No, you're correct on that. So when he first asked, I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. And then as weeks have gone on, I'm like, oh, yeah, that might not be the best decision.
I mean,
yeah.
so what do you think? Do you think these things, these signals, as you call it, are you hoping that there's something more than, like, what's the most confusing he's ever been?
I guess the most confusing thing is when we're talking, it's like really great eye contact, really great conversation. And we're like, we just have very similar humor and we're laughing and whatever. But then when it comes down to we're actually more alone, or it's like the end of the night, he seems almost standoffish and just like awkward and off. just like not as conversational, I guess I would say, and just more kept to himself. He just seems awkward or shy or something. It's just, that's where I'm getting a lot of mixed signals, is like
What do you mean at the end of the night?
when we hang out or whatever. And I should say, because we all live like in such different areas, if we're going out for an evening or whatever, a lot of the time we all stay at someone's house, like spare rooms or wherever. And when it's like end of the night kind of deal where I'm kind of sensing that maybe something's going to happen, he kind of just seems really awkward and like, is he like giving me signals that he wants to hook up? And then like, I don't know, I start reciprocating that. And then at the end, near the end of the night, or when most people be going to bed or whatever, he just seems like really awkward and like shut off. So that's where I'm like, I don't know what's going on in his head.
All right. Well, the big question is, what's the approach here for our lovely caller? I don't think we tell him before. It's either during or after.
Yeah. I feel like maybe you could put out.
What if you don't wear any clothes whenever you're in the room?
Oh,
Perfect.
Be like, oh, I'm sorry. I just like when I'm at home, I'm naked.
you could call the hotel, cancel one of the beds, get there, be like, what? The room only has one bed? And then see how he responds. It's like a classic book talk scenario.
No, but even like, again, I've had platonic women friends that I absolutely did not want to have relations with. And I could have shared a bed with them and then been like, I could have been an adult about it. I'm like, all right, well, okay. Like I've shared a bed with my male friends. I didn't want to fuck them. You know what I'm saying? I got through the night.
But were you getting like really awkward and nervous around these friends?
I don't know. I guess
that
it's
is
just,
kinda telling.
it potentially, I just don't know how clearly she's reading the signals, so to speak. Here's a question for you. What are the chances he's aware of how you might feel?
That is a good question.
How self-aware do you think he is? And the reason I ask that question is because regardless of what I thought about my platonic friendships, if I for a second ever thought that there might be even like I've had platonic friendships with women that deep down I thought to myself, I wonder if I liked them, would they like me back? And my gut told me probably maybe. But because I made it very clear where I stood, I wasn't worried about them doing anything. But given that, I was always very careful about the possibility of, I would never have suggested sharing a hotel room on the outside chance that it could be read as a miss signal. But I just don't know how self-aware he is.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. And I don't know how self-aware he is. It's just one of those things if you ask any one of our friends, no one really knows what's going on up there.
How many of your friends
He's
aware of your
just
crush?
One.
What do they think?
They are also very unsure. Again, because he's such a hard person to read. He keeps to himself. Because I asked her the one time when we were all out drinking and whatever, and she's like, I don't know. I think that's just drunk him. That's just how he is around everyone. And then I got to thinking like, okay, what is he like sober? I'm like, no, he's about the same. So she was really unsure as well and didn't know what to really think of it. So it didn't really help. So I never brought it up to anyone else.
What do you think? How do you think she should handle it?
I think you should be, and I say like using the word gaslight very playfully here. I think you should be flirty, but in a way where you could kind of gaslight him about it after the fact. If you're really scared of rejection and you really don't want to and I don't think that's maybe not healthy advice, but I think if you're really worried about ruining the friendship, feeling weird, having it be tainted, like meet him where he's at, maybe advance it a little bit, like touch his arm or something. If he says something funny, like like little things like
Mm-hmm.
that where you could totally play it off if needed, but that would also be like a green flag. So if that's what he's been trying to put down, he would feel like you're picking it up.
That's pretty good advice.
Right.
Yeah, flirt with him. Up your game.
Yeah. I think I need to do that. I think that's good advice.
And then if he's like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing?" Be like, "What are you talking about?" Just act dumb.
Yeah. Perfect.
I mean,
Okay. So
don't do anything you're not comfortable with, but you're sharing a hotel room together. And all jokes aside, like, you can show a little bit more skin and you can leave the bathroom door open or whatever you want to fucking do. And then if he makes a thing about it, you can be like, they're just boobs, we're friends. You could literally act dumb about it.
I was going to say you could
That's
sit on
true.
his bed at some point, like even just like putting on shoes, just kind of like sitting on the edge of his bed.
If you're going to do it,
yeah.
just fucking do it. I just
Your
feel
advice is tits out in the bathroom.
I'm just, my advice is to like, people are so, and this whole, like, this is not the first time we had I don't know how to read these signals. And I don't think the solution to having a hard time reading each other's like signals is to continue to be more cryptic and subtle. So I don't think sitting on the edge of his bed is going to like clear the air.
I just mean if you're less comfortable with having tits out.
You should
in
do
the
whatever
bathroom.
you're comfortable with. And I'm not saying, tits out. I'm just saying, I just think you should just like be like overly flirty to the point of like, oh, sorry, I was drunk. Maybe pretend to be drunk and be super flirty so you can blame it on being drunk. I don't know. But I think you got to try to make it a little more obvious.
Right. To give yourself closure.
Yes.
Like you have to behave in a way where you're like, okay, the fact that he did not kind of meet me where I was at or escalate this anymore means he is definitely not into me. Like you have to make sure he is like, the door is wide open for him to make things a little bit more like flirty romantic.
It's almost like you should flirt so much that you're sharing a hotel room on a trip. And so I think your ego can survive you essentially, through your actions of flirtation, pitching a fuck buddy situation. Right? But I don't think you should, that's not, in fact, that's not what you're pitching. Right?
Right.
But your
Right.
flirtiness might lead him to suggest that you are. And so if he turns that down, you already have your answer because he's a guy.
Right.
And if he's interested in being in a relationship with you, then he's interested in also being your fuck buddy. So what I'm saying is flirt with him where he might think that's on the table, and then, but don't just have sex with him to have sex with him. Am I making sense?
No, definitely not. Yeah, absolutely.
But what I'm saying is if he turns that, if he turns that down, then he's not, you're just, and then you can just say, no, I don't want a fuck buddy situation. So then you can still have a little power there.
True.
And then if he's like, why are you acting weird? Be like, I don't know, I'm on vacation. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's vacation me.
Yeah.
I think like when there's like 1 or 2 nights left of the trip, like assess how he's been responding to what you've been doing, and then think like, should I take it up a notch? There's only like 1 night left. If he like turns me down, then I can like bear sleeping in the same room as him for 1 more night. And if not, then
I think the girls might disagree with me. But do you trust me?
Oh, God.
What if step 1? Is he active on social media? Ish?
Yeah.
He is. All right. Has he posted anything that you thought he was attractive looking?
Yeah, but like probably hasn't posted. I could look at it.
That's actually fine.
Later, but I don't think he's.
It's even better. Go to a photo, even if doesn't matter if it's 6 months old, even better. You want to make it a little obvious and just reply to that photo and say, you look really hot here.
Oh God.
First of all,
Okay.
friends call each other hot. So you're not
Sure.
completely out of yourself. But the point, you got to get the ball rolling here.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
When is this trip again?
Like next week.
Next week.
Yeah,
And how
it's time
long?
then. Time to
Right? So
start.
we agree with me?
Yeah, it's time to start.
So let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Oh, we won't air this, but what's his Instagram?
It's
Oh, he's private. Can't really see what he looks like.
Oh,
Ah.
do you want me to show pictures on the camera?
Yeah, could you?
kind of.
Yeah.
Just so we can help you
Yeah.
figure out which one to reply to.
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
What else we got? Also, just be the one where you actually think he looks hot and great. Yeah, handsome. So send him that photo.
Okay.
Do you think she should screenshot it and text it, or just
Like
reply
it
to
through
his
private
inbox?
Message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say you look
Oh
really
my God.
you look really hot here.
Okay. He's gonna be like, what the?
Well, then you'll have your answer.
I also, and if he's like on the trip, like, why did you send me, like, why did you message me that? You can be like, oh, I was just talking about you with a friend. So I was like looking for a photo.
Because I want to bang.
Well,
Oh
Did you do
my
it?
God. Okay. What? Okay, it's done.
All right, good job.
I'm so excited
Keep
about
that.
this.
Listen, just keep that
Oh,
energy
Lord.
going. You're just flirting with him. You can always play dumb to protect your ego. But this isn't the
True.
end. This isn't
Yeah.
the end of the world here.
No. Yeah.
What you don't
Ugh.
want is to continue to have this obsession / friendship grow that is never really addressed, and you get kind of more and more down this like rabbit hole, and you kind of dilute yourself into and be invested in a relationship that doesn't exist. So I think
Yeah. No, you're right on that. Like, yeah, there's too much time and energy and overthinking going on here, and I needed to address that.
yeah. Would you, if you could have sex with him just once, would you?
Probably, yeah.
Well,
I mean, like, yeah, probably.
well, don't do it unless, well, do whatever you want, but I just don't want you to get attached.
Yeah.
I don't want him to
No.
think it's just a hookup when, especially since you have feelings.
Yeah.
But just flirt with him more on this trip. Make it more obvious and fun, and just like have it be vacation you.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I don't know, maybe just call us back with an update and we'll go from there.
Oh, I will. I'll let you know what happens there in a few weeks.
If you go on this vacation and you do whatever version you think is flirting, and then you come back and assuming you haven't like shot your shot, or he didn't like give you a clear answer one way or the other, call us back and we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, good luck. Have fun on your trip, and
Thank you.
keep the flirting going.
Yeah, stay flirty.
Yeah, stay flirty.
Yeah, will do. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, sounds good.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good luck.
Right. See you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to send in those questions at asknick@theviallfiles.com. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Reality Recap with the one and only Cammie Crawford. And again, on Wednesday, we're moving it up a day, going deeper with Lindsay Hubbard, talking about her tragic end of her engagement with her ex-fiance, Carl, the two mainstays at Summer House. It's their own scandal.
Yeah.
And we got the exclusive with Lindsay. So we'll see you the next 2 days. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.